I'm Paul.
I'm Devin.
Together, we're Dads and Dice, two dads who like to play some games during our free time.
That's right, and today we are reviewing the 2 to 4 player short exploration game ORICHALCUM by Pandasaurus Games. In ORICHALCUM, each player is going to be exploring their own little island and trying to race to be the first player to score 5 victory points. There's a couple different ways they'll be scoring victory points, but it could be building temples, forging ORICHALCUM, or possibly gaining the favor of the gods. During a round, the players are going to be selecting one of these action cards and then placing the terrain tile that is on it onto their island. The card that they select will actually dictate the move that they do for that turn. So it could be producing more ORICHALCUM nuggets, producing more hoplites, crafting either one of those temples over a 4 section of different terrain types, scoring a victory point in the process, or possibly forging one of your ORICHALCUM victory points by having 5 of the nuggets, or just kind of getting one of these little bonuses that could help with your production, help you destroy monsters, kind of give you some other type of rule breakers. Or, as you can see, there's some little monsters out here, and if you select terrain tiles with the monsters, then the 4th action would be to destroying the monsters by sending your hoplites out and rolling the dice and hoping to overcome their numbers, which then kind of gives you an extra little boon. As you're exploring out your land, if you ever connect 3 of the exact same terrain type, whether it be the forest or the swamplands or the mountains or the deserts, you will then attract that specific god to come over being one of your victory points. However, the gods are kind of fickle, and if somebody later down the line also gets 3 of that terrain type, well, they'll just go right over to them, to the most recent person. So you'll be gaining the different victory points all different ways, and the first person to 5 victory points will be the winner.
Yeah, so this game, it really is kind of we'll say it's like a short 4X game, right? You're exploring, you're exterminating, you're exploiting, and you're expanding. Now, you might not be doing it in the most traditional sense of that word, but you do kind of get a feeling of that in a shorter game, which is really nice if you enjoy that actual genre. You know, you're expanding your map out by gathering these land tokens up here. You're exploiting those resources with the hoplites and the ORICHALCUM, and then you're exterminating the monsters. Now I know that one's kind of a little bit different than a regular 4X, but it does give you that same kind of feel with it.
Yeah, to a very stripped down sense. This game, while it seemed like it had a lot going for it and all those different things that you could do, I ultimately felt the decision space was very limited to what you could actually do. The action cards that you actually decide are really determined by how many hoplites that you spend. You're really not generating a ton of hoplites throughout the game. If you're to the right of the first player, you get to generate 1, and the first player is kind of determined by the person that has the most. And yeah, you can do actions that let you get more hoplites. You're ultimately not getting a lot, and so it's very costly to spend them to do a different type of action other than one of the ones that cost are free. So I ultimately just found like every turn I really only had like 2 choices of cards I was taking, tokens I was taking. It had to be very worth it for me to spend those hoplites in order to gravitate towards something else.
Yeah, and we definitely played this game at 2 players more, and I think that is a bigger issue at the 2-player count, because you are eliminating one of these other actions, right? So then you most likely are going to have to spend a hoplite for one of the other ones, because hopefully the other person is getting rid of the free one, right? And since you are just with 2 players, you're not generating as many buildings as you would in the higher player count, which in turn doesn't allow you to produce more of those hoplites and get from there. So I do think that this game plays better at the higher player count, just because it opens up more buildings, it opens up more decision space, which for a 2-player game can get kind of stale.
Now, kind of going into the game length and how it plays, I personally don't often experience boredom in games, right? I can always be engaged in a game even when it's not my turn, right? I don't ever think, wow, somebody's taking too long. This game, I think, just went maybe 1 victory point, 2 victory points too long for me. You don't ever fully expand the map, which is fine, but it's because I was limited on my decision space, because I felt like I was doing the exact same thing every turn. I just think it always ended up being about a 45-minute game, depending on the player count, and I think it would have been better at maybe the 30 minutes, right? The different types of buildings that you create really don't have that much uniqueness. There's different numbers, kill monsters, right? And so that covers 5 of them. There's, the production ones, but you never really get a real engine going, so it's not like you're just building tons of production ones and getting tons of production out of it. Even at that, you were always limited on where you could actually place the buildings, right? I'm trying to build out a temple here, so I can't actually cover out the green that I wanted to, so now I I guess I will just buy this mountain building and put it here because it's the only one that isn't interrupting my overall plan. This game ultimately never really grasped me and drew me in, and I was never really excited when it was my turn. It was just, it came around to me, and I did the actions that were the couple things I did, and that was it, and I never really felt great about it.
Yeah, the game, it really does fit kind of a weird spot, right? It's not strategic enough, not deep enough for it to be like the game of the night, but it's also not really light enough to be kind of like that intro game to people that are new to gaming. It's just a kind of a weird space.
Now, on a positive note, component side of things, it was nice. The little hoplite people, the ORICHALCUM nuggets, you had 2 different bags that you drew from, and each monster having its own little standee. There was neat aspects to that. I liked the different gods. I liked that kind of interaction there, and it had a really good reference. So it had the entire rule book, and then it had its own little reference sheet, which broke down the turn order kind of really quickly. Once you knew the rules, you could go step by step through a person's turn, and then start over to the next person, resetting rounds. It was very nice. And then on the reverse side, it had all of the different kind of icons of what buildings would do, and quickly spelled out. So that was really nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that if we were to come back to it, I feel like you would be able to remember it very easily. And if you don't, just look at those references, and it's going to definitely help you out a lot there. So I think this is a game that didn't really sit well for us. I don't think it's a bad game for everybody. It just didn't really fit kind of our gameplay. If you want something that is short, something that you're going to be exploring, putting stuff out on the map, battling monsters, definitely give it a try.
Yeah, so that is all we have for ORICHALCUM. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help us, help our channel grow. We'll see you on the next one.
I don't know if I can hold this the whole time.
Why don't you use this, but not the...
not the box. What are you thinking?
Just trying something new.